But yeah, I knew she was the one. So
everybody told they all had us matched up. You're gonna get married.
Yeah, you have to marry that girl, and I was like, shut up, leave me alone. Everyone's telling me I have to marry her.
His mom.
I knew I was gonna, but they were bugging us, so you know.
Lose you to have until we're old to stay faithful to this love. One day at a time.
Can you tell me your love story?
Sure. Don't be laughing.
I was gonna say Age Before Beauty, but then that would be me.
That would be you first. I lived at home until I was, until I met him, got engaged, married him. So
I rescued her.
He rescued me from my Cinderella story. Where I got to keep the house clean and do all that stuff. There wasn't a job around for me to have. I didn't have a car. In California, you need a car. So I didn't really have a job at the time, but the church was just down the way. And so I'd walk down there and I played the piano down there a bit. And one Sunday night, in comes this guy, really long hair, and a ponytail, way down his back, the biggest smile on his face. Brand new Christian smile, the bright eyes, and he's sitting on the front row, and he's very friendly and talking and everything. Like, this guy talks to people. I like guys who talk. He's not the silent type, So I noticed him then, and there was excitement in my heart about him. And I'm like, what? Why are you so excited? And I know it was God. He was stirring in my heart. And just saw him on a Wednesday night, a Sunday night, so on. And we got acquainted. And at one point, God said, this is the guy you're going to marry. Because I had told God that I don't want to get the wrong one. God, just hit me upside of the head, do whatever it takes. I'm going to marry the right guy. Because I was not going to get divorced because my mom was divorced. And her excuse for getting divorced was she married the wrong guy. Now, I don't know if that's exactly right, but that's what I believed. So I was going to marry the right one, and God said it was this guy with the long hair. I said, well, God, I'm really supposed to marry this guy, make him cut his hair. And God did. God made him cut his hair. It was somewhat long, and then it just got a little shorter and everything. And we kind of bonded together over music because I had a piano at the house. I played the piano. He would come over with his your guitar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your bass, whatever. And he said, we got to practice for band. We're going to put together a band. We got to practice for it, right? So we practiced and we wrote a couple songs together.
She wouldn't come over my house.
I couldn't come over to his house because it was him by himself. He was renting a house.
I invited her over. I said, come on over. We'll jam. I can't come over to your house. But
no,
why
it's
not?
Just him there.
Yeah. This whole Christian thing was new.
He was renting from his parents. And they were in Long Beach. So, yeah, that's how it all got started.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So me and Brian, a friend of mine, got saved. I don't want to tell you our whole testimony, but yeah, we were in a rock and roll band, junior high and high school and all that, and doing a lot of drugs and all that. And we got saved. Heard a message by Greg Laurie on the last days. And so we started writing Christian songs. I mean, what else? We've always done music since kids. And so we wrote a Christian song, and we were looking for a church. And her church was the closest church, about 4 miles away, 4 or 5 miles from my house, and little small Baptist church. So a friend of ours from high school was the youth pastor now, John Lotta, and he said, "Hey, we got saved." He says, "Oh, you guys should come to church." So he hooked it up. We came and sang a song at church. You didn't tell that story.
No, I didn't tell your story yourself.
But anyway, we're up singing the song, for Jesus. It's, typical song of ours, lasts 8 or 10 minutes, and she was the prettiest girl in the church. I was, checking out the girls, like a normal guy, you know.
There weren't too many girls in that church.
And and then we started coming to youth group. It was very interesting. The youth group was all filled with the Holy Ghost at Southern Baptist Church, but the youth group was on fire for the Lord. It was fun, and so I got filled with the Holy Ghost, and speaking in tongues, and she played the piano in the youth group. We'd worship, and and then we started playing music together. And I remember I would go. She just lived right down from the church. We'd go to church in the morning, and then I'd go over their house. Her mom and dad invite me over. I'd have lunch with them, and then we'd just be at the piano or talking. And they'd come in and say, "Okay, it's time to go to church." We're like, "What?" So 5, 6 hours. It was like 6 o'clock. I think church was 6 or 7. And we just became really good friends. Hung out, went to a lot of concerts with the whole youth group. Bunch of kids hung out together. But I knew she was the one. So
everybody told they all had us matched up. You're gonna get married.
You have to marry that girl. And I was like, shut up, leave me alone. Everyone's telling me I have to marry her. I knew I was gonna, but they were bugging us. So
one of the best things about him was his parents. His parents were so nice and so welcoming, and they really liked me, and I really liked them. And I said, okay, I feel safe around this guy because his parents were so safe. And I think that's
they really
important.
loved each other.
Yeah.
My mom's like, you need to marry that one. But she never said that about any other girls I brought.
I got saved when I was 5. So, and my parents Christianed all the relatives Christians. So his mom was, but he wasn't until he was what, 20? 19.
19. So got saved, hanging out with the youth group. We were hanging out with each other, more, with the youth group and stuff. We weren't like making out or anything. And so we just became friends first, and it kind of became best friends. And then it was like, hey, we're going to be partners for life. I want to spend the rest of my life with
you. He had to go to Bible school.
She sent me off to Rhema. I proposed to her, and then I left and went to Bible school for a year. That was actually good because we wrote letters. I think once a week at least, we would write letters back and forth for the year when I was at Bible school. And we really got to know each other a lot in a different way then.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that physical temptation as much because I'm in Oklahoma and she's in California. So came back, set the wedding date. And anyway, through a lot of other events, her dad was now pastoring a church. I became the youth pastor. We started a Christian school. She worked there. I worked there. Her mom had a preschool there too. So her parents, her stepdad, was the pastor. So that was great. And I worked for them 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years.
So longer than Jacob did for Rachel. But I got to say, at least her dad didn't sneak an ugly sister on me and get me, Fortunately,
Rachel
she didn't have one.
And Leah.
Rachel Lee, if you know that story.
Bible story.
So.
Yeah, so I think that's about it, right?
Yeah.
Our love story. He got back from Rhema, we got married, and.
In the ministry for 8 years.
Yeah.
And in that time had kids and just
I had all my kids in the 80s.
Grew closer and closer to each other and still are. We're more in love today than we've ever been. And it's been 44. No, what's this?
44.
44 years.
44 years.
In August.
We were really blessed to be able to be together a lot. Work in the school together a lot. And then later on when he started his own business, then he would always come home too. And so we were together a lot.
I was able to come home for lunch.
A real blessing.
Homeschooled our girls, so spent a lot of time with the girls. And now they're our best friends because I would recommend one thing I would say for advice, and maybe this should be on another question, but for kids, James Dobson had a book what was it called? Not tough love. Something about parenting.
Yeah, something about
I
parenting.
should figure that one out. But he said he was a psychologist, therapist, and he'd sat down and interviewed or sat down with hundreds and hundreds of dads. And he says he couldn't tell you how many dads, after their kids are gone, said, I wish I wouldn't have spent so much time in the office. I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. And he says not one out of the thousands of men ever said, I wish I wouldn't have spent so much time with my kids. So I took that to heart. And we spent a lot of time with our kids.
Great father, especially.
We grew up with him.
Yeah, we're so
She was
young.
20 when we started having them. So
Yeah. I think that was an advantage. Weren't set in our ways yet. People get married when they're older, and it's a little bit of a challenge. They already have a lot of things already set in their life. So, yeah, we started out kind of blank slates.
yeah, young and in love.
Yeah.